Hello, and welcome to Our Special Lives. I'm Laura McGrath, and today we're talking to my dear friend Kelly Brooks, who is a fellow special needs mom, and we're going to talk about absolutely nothing in particular. Before we get started, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Hi.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. So have you been
Yeah.
Zooming a lot for work?
Yeah, for work.
Yeah.
I have been a lot. And then I was actually I did a session for the ARC conference
Oh,
where,
wow.
where I talked about the nursing rates. So it was one of their panels with a couple of legislators, three legislators were on there. So that was all Zoom. And I've been doing a lot of it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because that's been like I was gonna ask you what you're frustrated with lately, and I was gonna tell you that I've been really frustrated with the nursing rate. So what's the scoop on that?
They had approved, so the General Assembly had approved like an increase over 3 years or whatever. But then when COVID happened, they basically unallocated all of those funds. And so for their special session, which I think is kind of why we were doing this little panel, they wanted somebody to talk about, the nursing rates and the impact that nursing has on the family, how important it is. Obviously, all of that. And so the hope was that they were going to reallocate those funds. I'm not crazy about the fact that it's incremental over several years, but I had kind of hoped they would bring them a little
Yeah,
bit more in
I'd
line.
had no idea. I thought it was just going to be 18.5% starting July 1st.
I don't know exactly what the plan was initially, except that it was gonna be phased in. So I don't know if that was gonna be the first phase of it.
Okay.
But it's, at this point, not happening. Although I feel like the legislators want to do it. It's just a matter of so much funding being needed for COVID that they're kind of having to take it from everywhere. So, and that's unfortunately one of the areas they were taking it from. Hopefully it will get reallocated. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't heard the status on that. I haven't heard an update, and I've kind of been watching out for something, but, I haven't heard what's going to happen with that. But, I just talked about the fact that, as you well know, like, I wouldn't be able to work if we didn't have care. And I know families who have gone, years without nursing care, and finally somebody has to quit their job. I could easily be in that position where I have to quit my job, and, I'm pretty sure you want me to be paying taxes. So,
Yeah.
like, it behooves you to put nurses in a better position to stay in the job that they want to be in. But get paid a fair wage for it. I mean, one thing that I said was, some of these nurses who are licensed healthcare professionals are making the same thing as the cashier at Target now. Not that that's not an admirable job, but, the population that you're dealing with is very vulnerable. The
Yeah,
skill
you've got
level
medically
is
fragile children with trachs and ventilators, and
right.
just
And
for
they should be
anybody
paid
who's listening.
accordingly.
Yeah, for anybody who's listening, I think the nursing rate for private duty nurses for children who are on Medicaid waivers is is it the third lowest, the third from the bottom in the
Yes,
country
I
in
think it is.
Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the problem that we have is that we can't, it's very, very hard to find nurses to help take care of your kids. And so that means that parents can't sleep or they can't work. And
Right.
it's just really
Yeah.
frustrating. We just went through a huge change in July where, our primary nurse got another job. And, we were down, I think there was 1 week in July where we were down 90 hours of nursing. And, I was like desperately trying to recruit people and find people. And, unfortunately, because of the low wage combined with HIPAA restrictions on nursing agencies being able to go out into the population of nurses and actually give them information about the case that they would be taking, they have very little interest from the nursing population. And so it makes it really, really difficult to recruit nurses. So
Right.
as we self-advertise, and,
Right.
and we were able to find, an awesome nurse who's now working 40 hours a week through that process. And
You
then,
have a gift, I'm telling you.
well, I've just been doing it for a long
Yeah.
time. And,
A decade.
sometimes somehow these, we really have gotten some very wonderful people to come on our team, but it's, it takes a lot of effort on the parents' part. And I think there's a perception in the world that, oh, if you've got a child that has a lot of like medical complexity, that, there's this like magical agency that will just send these super nice qualified people to your house, and, all of that. And that is like so not the way it works at all. And I think a big part of it is the pay rate. But the HIPAA stuff definitely doesn't help either.
Right.
And the other way that we've been pretty successful is just kind of through word of mouth. I'd say most of our nurses work very part-time, a shift or two a week, and they actually have a full-time job somewhere else.
Right.
So they're not like as reliant on this wage to pay their bills. So.
Right. Well, and the other thing that I find very stressful about it is you are, and I mean, you have to do this all the time. We haven't, knock on wood, haven't had to do it in a long time, but you are turning over your most precious gift to these people. And it is nerve-wracking when you are constantly having to find a new caregiver and you can't always get what you want. So you're having to place your trust in people that, not always under the best of circumstances. And that is nerve-wracking. It really is.
Oh yeah, totally. And then like, we had a situation where we were bringing a new nurse on. She's a PRN nurse. And, because that's the other thing, when you've got nurses working at your house, you're the one who's doing all of the, scheduling when they take vacations or have doctor's appointments or all of that, and you're having to cover, either rearrange things or find someone else to, help take care of your child. And, absolutely, people need to go on vacation. People need to go to doctor's appointments. Like that's, but it's just it's a really tough position to be like running the scheduling on that. And, we had a situation where we had a PRN nurse coming in to cover a shift for a nurse, and she'd been scheduled for like 3 or 4 weeks, and she literally went like MIA this week, and, just couldn't get a hold of her, couldn't get her to confirm she was coming. She still owed the agency, like she actually went in and did her orientation, but she still owed the agency like several forms, and nobody could get a hold of her. So I basically had to sort of, realize as of yesterday that, she is just completely flaked out, and, tried to cover the day. And, of course that's like basically impossible with 3 days notice. So, so it's fine, so I've got Finn. It's not a big, it's not a big deal, but it's just like, it's very hard to plan your life, especially when you have other kids.
And a job.
And a job. And you're trying to like, get like 7 or 8 hours of sleep. It's very hard to plan your life when this major piece is like, it just always feels, I think, to me, a little unstable.
Yes, I agree. And it's frustrating to be beholden to these other people. With a typical child, you send them to daycare and like that's always going to be there and it's always going to be open, or you have somebody coming in that the situation is such that they're probably going to be pretty reliable and pretty dependable. And with this situation, you're at their mercy in a lot of ways, and it's hard not to have more control over the situation. So you put up with things that you wouldn't necessarily always put up with in better circumstances.
I hear you.
Yeah.
We've definitely done that before.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're kind of similar to us that you don't have a lot of family in town, right?
Nope. Nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're all on your own as well.
Right. It's not like, it's not like we have, cousins or parents or siblings who can come over and pinch hit for us. I mean, we've never really had that, but especially now that Julia is, 70 pounds, it's not like grandma can, if she's in town, can help out with that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's challenging for sure.
Yeah. So if you can believe it, Finn weighs 82 pounds now.
What?
Yeah. He's huge.
Wow.
He's huge.
He is huge.
Yeah.
I thought Julia was gigantic.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because Julia is able to like get herself in bed. I think we talked about that the last time, right? She can like take steps into her bed.
Yeah.
So sort of.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other story. But yes, there was a time when she could do that.
Yeah, and Finn is more like on the wet dolphin side of things. I mean, he thinks it's hilarious, but picking him up is like picking up a giant sack of grain. You get like absolutely no help. And it's funny because Luke, my other son, also weighs around 85 pounds. But when I pick him up because he's not like hypotonic and his, muscles sort of have some rigidity to them, I can actually pick him up and it's not really that big of a deal. But 85 pounds when there's no rigidity is like, it's backbreaking. It is literally backbreaking. And so I've been really happy. The insurance company, our secondary, which we use Aetna, they actually paid to put ceiling lifts in his room and in his like area where we take care of him. And that has literally been a game changer for us this year.
Yes.
Do you guys have those?
I'm looking very forward to that. We are finally making progress on putting an addition on the house. And by making progress, I mean, we have a plan and, we're going through like getting it approved and everything. And then the actual contracting, building, all that is going to be a whole other process. But one of the things that, we're going to put in is a lift. And I cannot wait because she's upstairs now. And we have a stair lift, which is great for getting her up and down, although it takes forever. But we still have to lift her into bed. And she has a sleep safe bed. It's very tall. So I'm literally still like picking her up like this and, like kind of like.
It's that end of the lift where you're like, have to like literally hold your arms out with this giant weight at the end. I'm like, how do they expect anyone to do this?
I know. And I'm just basically like, please don't let me drop her.
Yeah.
And then, in the middle of the night, if she wakes up or something, I go in there and I kind of like move her around and I'm literally like crawling in the bed, like, moving her because you're right.
It's like excruciating. Yeah, it's excruciating. I find it so hard on my back to be maneuvering this like 85-pound person who can't help it all, while I'm sitting down and or trying to manipulate him over his bed. We actually just got a sleep safe bed as well, probably I'm going to say about 6 months ago, and we got the one that raises and lowers.
Yes, we have that. Yes,
but we don't need sides because Finn doesn't sit, and so that adds like a whole dynamic. I mean, like not having to have the sides makes it easier, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we have like the Mac Daddy sleep safe bed, and we have like the tallest one with the tallest sides, and it raises and lowers and. Because at the time she was like pushing up and sitting up in the bed. She's not doing that now, but I didn't think about the fact that eventually she would be, well, actually I did think about it, but I was hopeful that by the time she got to 10 years old, she would have stopped that pushing up in the bed and we would, be somewhere else with that. And maybe we could get a different bed for her, but that hasn't stopped really. So we still have to keep her safe. And so it just presents all these new problems in terms of like now getting her in this very tall bed and, lowering her up and down and all of that. So yeah, it's all these little things that come with daily life that, people would have no idea
Oh yeah.
you're even dealing with.
Oh
So
yeah. No, but the lift is a real game changer. And we ended up doing the ceiling lift because the Hoyer lift was like too unstable, and because of all of his involuntary movement, he would be like hitting the base of it while we were trying to get him.
yeah, they make me nervous. They make me nervous.
Yeah. So anyway, we ended up with a Hillrom ceiling lift,
Okay.
and absolutely love it. So we have two of those, one up and one down, and it's been like a total game changer. We use it all the time to get them from, mat to the stander, mat to the chair, chair to bed. All of those transfers are now done with the ceiling lift, and my back is just so. Yeah.
So happy.
So happy. So anyway, well, your project sounds very interesting.
We'll see.
Is that going to be like a bathroom for Julia? Okay.
Yeah. So right now we have a sunroom on the back of the house. And so we're just going to take that off. That was an addition like a million years ago before we ever bought the house. And then we will build out a bedroom and a bathroom there, and we'll have a ramp around back, because right now, in order to get her into the house, we still have to go up a couple of steps once we get her in the house. So we'll have a ramp that comes from the driveway around to there, and there'll be like a little foyer area, and then her bedroom and bathroom off of that. I don't love that she's going to be downstairs because we have to get up with her so many times, but that's really the option that we have. So it's, and at least we have the space to build it out. Hopefully it will go faster than I'm anticipating, but my expectations are low. So sometimes I find it's best to just keep the expectations very low.
No, I think that's right. I mean, we started putting an elevator in our house, and it took two years. It's supposed to take 6 months. So these things just always take a lot longer than than anybody wants to or thinks that they will. So yeah.
I don't understand, but that's the way it is.
I know. Well, how are your other kids doing in this post-COVID world?
They're good. They're good. We spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
A lot of time together.
Now, is their daycare open? Do they have any?
Their daycare has been open, but I chose not to send them this year because of COVID and Julia. And just, I just feel like I can't take that chance.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things that is challenging about the new school year is, in terms of like, I'm on the hunt for a sitter for the afternoon for them, me and the rest of the world, which makes it even more challenging so that I can actually work in the afternoons. And that is challenging. Trying to find some sort of like learning group for them, a little pod, has been challenging because our risk level is so much higher or lower, whatever, than other people's because of Julia, that it's hard to find people who are sort of living the isolated life that we're trying to live to protect Julia. So, that definitely makes it hard going back to school. I'm going to have to be Julia's one-to-one, and then also have the other two kids, doing school and hoping that they're actually like sitting there paying attention because they're 6 and 7. And that is challenging.
Yeah.
But, hopefully it'll work out. I don't know.
Now, is Julia going, I think we're working out because kids with IEPs can go in person on some limited basis. So I think we're working out that he'll go one-to-one with his sped teacher for like 1 hour twice a week or something like that. Are you guys doing something similar?
No, because I really don't want to send her into the school. I mean, I feel like part of the problem with the schools, their HVAC systems concern me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work. I've been talking to her teacher some, but I feel like the teachers don't have a real great sense of how this is all going to work. It seems like the information about special ed has been sort of the very last frontier for all of this.
Yeah, because it's so complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is super complicated. And so I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like. Because Julia also is, I mean, right now, the assumption is that she's going to be in class virtually, from 8 to 1 or whatever the time frame is. She'll go into gen ed a couple times. I have no idea how that's going to work. She's supposed to be working virtually with a 1-to-1. I'm going to see how it goes. And, if I end up feeling like I need to take her in, then I guess we'll cross that bridge, but I'm really trying to avoid that if at all possible. So
yeah. Finn's teacher said that she is going to, there's a classroom that's not being used. And so she feels like she and Finn, I totally hear what you're saying about HVAC, and that definitely is a concern. But at least I know that where they would be for that hour would not be a room that's like being traversed by other kids.
True. Very true.
So that's, so that's kind of helpful. But yeah, I mean, we tried to do a virtual session, like through Homebound over the summer. And it was just like an epic disaster. And his Homebound teacher is awesome, but it was just the technology part of it was not working at all. Like we were talking on like, I think we might have started off on Microsoft Teams and then went to Google Hangouts, and we couldn't hear each other. And then she was trying to flip something to Finn on his Toby, and it looked like it was like full size on her screen. But when it came to Finn's screen, it was like this big. With 6 choices in it. And so, I mean, we just kind of like gave up after 45 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Julia did ESY this year. She hasn't done it in a million years, like since preschool, but we decided to do it this year because I was like, the spring was just such a mess. I mean, it was okay. I didn't find it particularly like challenging or engaging.
Did they come to your house or was it virtual?
It was virtual. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I hear you. Like she also just does so much better in person with somebody. And, so I did a lot of the work with her in the spring. But this is a whole different ballgame, like with new material and, new grade level and all of that. It's just,
yeah,
I've got some anxiety. Sure.
It's a lot. Finn uses a program called Choose It Maker. I don't know if you guys are using that.
Yeah, I've heard of it, yes.
Yeah, and so his teachers are typically doing kind of like real-time choice boards based on what he's learning. So if they're reading a book about a seed to a plant or something, they'll make kind of on the fly choice boards for him to, pick answers and show that he's, receiving the information and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I can't do that. I don't understand Choose It Maker. I'm sure I could learn. How long it would take me, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Like you've got a million other jobs and that, kind of can't be one of them. So I've been talking with Julia's teacher. She's made a couple of choice boards like that related to the content that she wants to use with Julia. And so, I think we will do that. And like for her time in gen ed, I have suggested, in order to allow her for participation, which is something that I've been suggesting for a long time, like, why don't you give me some of the questions that could be directed to her ahead of time and I can get her to answer them. And then that way, when she gets called on, we don't have to wait for her response. We can just already have had that discussion with her and that's how she can participate. We're just going to have to see how it goes. I mean, this is uncharted territory for sure. So, and again, I'm setting my expectations very low for everybody.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It sounds like you have such a full, so full. And then you're working remotely, but you can do afternoons.
Hopefully. Yeah. I mean, that's what I've been doing. Can you say hi?
Hi.
That's what I've been doing for the last few months. Vince has been home as well, so that's been very helpful. He has to go back after Labor Day. So, that's why I've got to find a sitter for the afternoons for them, because we've been kind of tag teaming where he would work all morning and into the afternoon, and then we kind of switch places, and he will have them for the afternoon while I'm working. So, we're not going to have that anymore. So I've got to.
Yeah, you've got to find a replacement for him.
Out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
well,
but I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I know.
Everything always is, right?
It'll work out somehow. Yeah. So Luke is going back in person, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think
they probably have smaller classes at there, though.
They hired more teachers. I think the class size is smaller. My understanding is they took some space and like divided it up with walls to create some other classrooms so that they have, more ability to have smaller groups of kids who are social distanced. Yes. Yeah. And there will be mask wearing. I'm not quite sure if that's like 100% of the time or just when they're moving around. There will be temperature testing. Mm-hmm. And, I suspect some degree of like self-containment so that if there is, a case or a contact or an exposure that, just one class can be quarantined.
Right.
Right. And, not the whole school has to be shut down. So yeah, I'm hopeful with that. But we're also not doing like, like with my job and Mike flying and being gone all the time, like he typically does aftercare, like daycare. Mm-hmm. And we're not doing that. We don't feel comfortable with that just because it's the exposure to like everybody. It's a free for all. There's exposure to everybody in the school at that point, and so we're just, not really comfortable with that. And as you know, there's a lot of teacher work days and, holidays and all of that. Normally we would use this daycare that the school offers to keep them there, during that time. But, again, we don't feel comfortable with it. So, I'm thinking like most people, I'll probably be working from home for the foreseeable future just because there's too much uncertainty and, too much of a parent just needing to be physically present in the home,
right. Yeah. Well, and it's nice that we're at a point in time where that is even an option, I mean, that has definitely been a lifesaver for a lot of people I know. So
I know, it's so funny. I was laughing with somebody because I know some people who work at Capital One and they've had this like work from home policy for a long time. And everybody was like, oh, Capital One, they're so progressive. People are working from home and, now it's like the norm that everybody's doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, oh, wow. Yeah, we can actually do that.
Yeah. And it actually does work. And I mean, I love like the hour of my life that I get back every day, not having to commute.
I know. And I will say I'm stressed in a different way.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm constantly racing. I mean, Julia's, I'm not taking her to therapy. I'm not picking her up and taking her to therapy. I'm not, having to spend time commuting back and forth and having to like leave work an hour before she has an appointment so I can go get her. So, I'm able to sleep in a little, which has been nice, because we don't have to get up and go anywhere. So, I mean, it's stressful, but like in a different way. And I have liked being home. So.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that's come out of this that I'm loving is the virtual appointments. Like we've been doing all virtual PT, which is awesome because, Finn with his trach is like, he picks up every virus known to man when he does therapy. And I mean, they're doing a great job. It's just Finn and, and the trach. I think it just, makes him pick stuff up, more.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Julia is very susceptible too and doesn't have a trach. So I feel you on that.
Yeah. And so being able to do virtual therapy has been really awesome. Mm-hmm. It's not, obviously he doesn't have all the equipment and all of that stuff, right. But I feel like we've done pretty well given like the limitations and then same with like neurology. We've been able to do a bunch of virtual appointments without having to, go down to the children's pavilion.
Right.
We did pulmonology virtually. We saw Dr. Jan virtually. Did
We
you
did
guys
too.
do
Yep,
that?
that was
Yeah.
great.
How was that? Was it a good appointment?
It was like 3 hours long.
I know. She is so thorough. Like
Yes.
I'm talking to her about maybe doing a segment on here just to kind of talk
Oh
about her
yeah, that'd be
approach.
great.
And I think she wants to do it, but she's been so busy reopening her clinic.
Hmm.
And so anyway, but yeah, so it's 3 hours long.
Yep.
And you probably talked about everything in
Yep.
Julia's life, which is
Yep.
what she
We
does,
did.
which is so fantastic.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And she remembered her, which, because we hadn't seen her in a long time. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's always come away with something good,
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad that we finally got that done, because there's no way we could go out there anymore. Like, it's just impossible.
Yeah, no, I mean, and
So,
that's like another thing. I don't think people realize that when you have a child who is pretty significantly involved from a physical standpoint, that they can't fly on a plane. Like, I don't think people understand that, kids like our kids are not able to like sit in an airline seat. They just like sort of collapse. They
right,
don't have like the
right.
muscle structure to be able to sit in an airline seat, and you can't sit in your wheelchair on a
Right.
plane.
It's a
So
problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it is. It's and it prevents children like our kids from getting medical care that is not located, in driving distance of your house.
Right.
So that's really unfortunate. But what a miracle that insurance companies are paying for these virtual visits, and that doctors are willing to set that up, because that's another thing that was always a barrier. And now I think the technology has really come a long way with like, Doxy and some of those HIPAA compliant platforms.
Right.
But like that was Dr. Jan's, one of her issues was that getting that HIPAA compliant portal set up was so, just so expensive and clunky
Right.
back when we were trying to do it years ago.
Right. Yeah, it's great. And I know some insurance companies are starting to not allow telehealth, which I don't even understand, because I'm like, this is so fantastic for something where your child doesn't have to physically be seen and examined,
Yeah.
like neurology. I mean, it's so much easier, and it takes the stress off of having to go down there, expose them to whatever is floating in the air. It's just so much easier. Obviously not every appointment lends itself to that, but being able to do that with Dr. Jan is great.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic. And I mean, we of course left the appointment with a very long to-do list of things that we needed to tweak. I don't know if you guys get the same thing.
Yep.
I love meeting with her. Hi. But I always feel like a little bit overwhelmed.
Yes, it is overwhelming.
And slightly inadequate. Slightly like I'm doing a lot of things wrong. Yeah, but we even did pulmonology, because we had a nurse, so Dr. Friedman,
right. Yeah.
Dr. Friedman could say to the nurse, like, can you check this? Can you check this? Can you, I don't know, put the stethoscope on his back or whatever, lower left lobe. And, they were sort of having their own conversation.
Right.
And yeah, it was perfect, because we weren't in the waiting room with, a bunch of other kids with respiratory issues and sicknesses and all of that, which just makes it so much easier. And not to mention that, our kids, I mean, I assume Julie is pretty scheduled in terms of like when she needs meds and food and like all of that. So that's like another aspect of it that is so fantastic, because trying to work in a doctor's appointment between like feedings and med schedule and all that stuff is it can be really tricky.
Yeah, it is very challenging. Everything is like so regimented, and anytime we make an appointment, I feel like we go through 5 different, what about this time? No, that won't work. What about this time? No, that won't work.
Yeah.
Until we finally, land on a time when something is not going on. And so being able to just feed her while we're in the middle of an appointment, or, is really, really helpful. It just makes life so much easier.
Yeah. And like, another aspect that I think a lot of people don't understand is like, when your child can't use the bathroom and they're diapered, trying to take them out in public, like to a doctor's appointment or something like that, is a real challenge, especially when your child weighs 70 pounds or 85 pounds, because there are really no public restrooms that adequately accommodate people who are diapered. And so
including Children's Hospital.
No, which is so
ironic.
It's so, yes, so ironic. So, I mean, I can't even tell you like the crazy things that we have done to try to change Finn in public places. And it's just like, so not having to deal with that aspect too is like a major relief.
That's a huge stressor for me, that one right there.
Yeah. No, it is.
That really stresses me out. So.
It is because, you know, Finn also, you know, Finn likes to go to the bathroom in a big way, let's just say, whenever we leave the house.
We've had some experiences, let me tell you.
You can pretty much guarantee that is going to happen, you know? And so it's just like, it's like super stressful. So not having to deal with that too is way, way better.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, you know, as they get bigger. I mean, it's hard. I have a little cot that we carry around that I will put down in the van for Julia to change her. But now that she's 70 pounds, you know, it's much harder. So, and I've heard some people say, like, if they're going someplace, you know, like a festival or something like that, they'll find the first aid station. But I have never found that to be extremely helpful in our situation. So, you know, we just kind of roll the dice and
just do the best you can.
And do the best we can. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, this is probably, don't laugh at this question, but are you able to do anything for yourself these days?
Self-care. My favorite topic.
Let's not call it self-care. Let's just say, are you doing anything that like you're excited about or helps you get through these stressful times? Is there any little thing you're doing that's helpful?
What my favorite part of the day is, like the 10 minutes from the time I get in bed until I fall asleep where I can read a book. That is like the best part of my day. And then Theo has an OT appointment one day a week. And that's like half an hour, you know, after I drop him off before I have to pick him up, where I like go through the drive-thru at Starbucks and just sit there and drink my drink. That.
Oh my gosh. I love both of those things. That is awesome.
That's what I've got.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Yeah. I have, I also do that. So I have like a couple books that I'm reading and I just keep them on my phone because this is terrible, but the 9-year-old is still sleeping in our room.
Hey, no judgment.
I know, don't even get me.
No judgment.
I know, it's so terrible, but you know, I mean, it just, you know, it started a while ago. It's a hard habit to break, and
you're tired, Laura. You're tired.
Well, and you know, to be honest with you, you know, when I was working, you know, in the office, you know, and he was at school, I felt like I just didn't even really see him that much.
I know.
So like if he wanted to stay in our room, I was kind of like, you know, at least I can be there for him at night if he like, you know, wakes up and has a bad dream or whatever. So anyway, but yeah, so he's in our room, and so I have to like read it on my phone because the light has to be out. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's like I have to sneak around in my own bedroom to try to read. But anyway, I can definitely read a book on my phone. So yeah, I love that too. And you know, I always love, you know, going to Starbucks. So I think those are two really great things. I actually started, when all this started, I started walking in the morning outside and listening to podcasts. And I found that to be really fun. I had to stop like once it got to be about 105 degrees outside at 8 a.m.
Shut you down real quick.
It totally shut me down. It took all the joy out of it because it was just so gross. But yeah, like definitely in April, May, you know, that was bringing me some joy. And now with the weather getting a little bit better, I think I might be able to, you know, resume that. But yeah, you just have
another thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. No. Another thing that we have been doing, I don't know that I would call this like time for me necessarily, but We have been trying to go on hikes. I use that term loosely because we take Julia with us. So it has to be like a trail that is accessible for her stroller.
Yeah.
But we've been doing that. And so a couple weeks ago, I always want to take her to a waterfall because Vince and I used to hike a lot before we had kids. And, then when Julia was smaller, it was a little bit easier because like we could carry her in a backpack, but now we can't really do that. And so, obviously it's hard to take her to a waterfall because those trails are going to be a little bit harder, but we found one that was fairly easy and fairly short. And so we did that a couple of weeks ago, and that was really nice because we were outside. So like, I didn't really have to worry about the kids' behavior and being wild. And, we could be distanced from people, and it was beautiful, and the weather was perfect. And Julia was able to go with us, which is always really important to me. I hate like leaving her out of stuff. And so, I feel like that was good for my mental health, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to do some of that. I every weekend I'm just like, I know we really can't go anywhere where there are people, but I just have to get out of the house.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
now, do you feel like when Julie is experiencing that she's liking it?
I don't know. She says, I always ask her like, was that fun? Yes or no? And, she'll say yes. But then her nurse offered to come on a weekend so that we could take the other two somewhere. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. I feel really bad leaving her behind. And so Vince was like, well, why don't you just ask her? I was like, oh yeah. Okay. So I said, hey, Julia, we were thinking about going somewhere this weekend. Would you like to stay with your nurse, or would you like to go with us? Because I don't want to leave you out, And she said she wanted to stay with her nurse. And I was like, okay, I should have been asking you this all along. Maybe you don't like doing this stuff. Probably your brother and sister drive you crazy and you would love your own like personal time. So, cause she's getting older now, like she's going to be 11 and, she's not a little kid anymore. So
Finn actually likes staying at home.
I feel like I have permission to like leave her home with the nurse and take the other two. And I think they will also benefit from that because, we're getting to that point where they're starting to be like, everything is about Julia and you only care about Julia when they get mad. And so, which I knew was going to happen at some point.
Oh yeah. No, they can quickly suss out your weak spots and use it against you.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes. Yeah. It's not even, it's not even necessarily true in their eyes. They're just saying it to hurt you. That's what all kids do.
Yep. They sure do. They're really good at
that. Yeah, we actually did. We try to do 2 things a year with Luke that don't involve Finn, just to kind of give him that time. And I think for us too, there's that added thing of, since Mike's flying, he is gone a lot. And so there's not really too much occasion for Luke to get like our attention together, And so we were supposed to go to Virginia Beach this past week, and because of the hurricane, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago, because of the hurricane, we made a quick last minute decision to go to Asheville. And so
we love Asheville,
which was awesome, except Asheville's really weird with COVID now because the restaurants are all closed, or most of them. And, it's just a little bit of a weird time like it is everywhere. Yeah. But we had a total blast, and we got to do things that we just can't do with Finn. Like we did the Gorge, which I would so highly recommend. I think it's like the longest, tallest zip line course in North America.
Oh, wow.
So there are like 11 zip lines and 3 rappels, and you're like going over it's like hundreds of feet down. And you're not
selling it. You're not selling it.
It really, I mean, it was so well run. It was not scary.
Right.
But just being outside and doing something like that with Luke,
Right.
and unfortunately, it's just not something that Finn can participate in. But it was so sweet because Luke even said, "I wish Finn could do this. Like, don't you think there's a way that we could hook him up?" And I'm going like, "Oh my gosh, I love that you're thinking that way. I just can't,
Right.
I just can't imagine that would be safe."
Yeah. We can do a lot of things. I don't know that that's one of them.
Yeah, I don't think it's one of them. And then I usually take him skiing for a few days each year.
Mhm.
Again, it's not something that Finn could really participate in, but it's something that Luke and I love doing together. Mike's not a
Right.
skier, so but it's just kind of nice to have that one-on-one time where because our
Yeah.
other kids just take up, just the lion's share of just even physical time because
Yeah,
they
they
need so
do. They
much,
do. Yep.
and so I think it's important to, kind of do those one-on-ones. Do you guys ever like, I don't know, do those things where like, Vince will take one kid and you'll take another kid, or you know what I mean? Like that kind of like one-on-one stuff?
Um, no, we don't. And we've actually just been recently talking about the fact that we need to do that more. Um, because it's been such a weird time, and just, being able to go somewhere and do something is challenging.
Yeah.
But yes, I think that they would benefit from that. I mean, I have time with them, like the two of, Theo and Eleanor in the mornings. I have time with them because Julia's nurse is here and she's, sort of taking care of her. So I take them to the playground and like do stuff with them. Um, but in terms of one-on-one, that has always been really challenging.
Yeah.
And so I sort of, made a promise to myself that we're going to start doing more of that, because I mean, any kid, needs that. And I think sometimes, in this life, your perspective can get really skewed because you are very often just sort of living moment to moment
Yeah.
and
Trying to
trying
get
to
through.
manage this
Hmm.
life.
Yeah.
And all these other things sort of fall by the wayside. You kind of forget that you need to try and be normal sometimes. So yeah, that is a challenge over
Yeah.
here for sure.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I try to, when I can, find like a little snippet of time that I can like actually have, because I think one of the things that I noticed with Finn is that a lot of times I get so focused on his care that I
Mm-hmm.
don't do enough fun stuff with him. So
Yes.
I'm trying to, like, for maybe even like 10 minutes a day, like, read him a chapter out of a book, or, he loves music. So sometimes we'll have like a little dance party, or,
Yeah.
just something like that, because I think, sometimes I just start feeling like, um, there's just not enough of that like
Yeah.
fun
A
stuff.
nurse, a
I,
therapist, a
yeah,
teacher instead of just a
exactly.
mom.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very hard. Julia is working her way through all of the Laura Ingalls Wilder books.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, we have done some of those on Audible for
Yeah,
Finn, and he
yeah,
loves those.
yes. Julia apparently is really into it as well, and the other kids, Theo likes them too. He likes to listen as well, so we'll do that after dinner. Or sometimes I'll just be like, "Do you just want to sit quietly with me?" And she'll say yes, and so I will still like hold her, just very hard.
Yeah.
But I love that I can still do that. And so she'll just kind of like sit on the couch with me for a little while. And it's just nice to, just be quiet and have that time together. Cause she's a snuggler. Like she likes hugs and holding hands and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And I'm glad that I can still do that with her at
Yeah.
almost 11. Um, that's some of the time that we get to spend together. And then she'll play games with her brother and sister, and we kind of adapt things for her. Because I mean, I do think you get caught up in the actual care piece of it and can lose sight of the fact that there are kids who need to do fun things too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I did a video on with the woman who co-authored the 5 love languages for kids with special needs, and that's exactly what she recommended, like figuring out what your child's love language is. And like Finn's is also touch, so he loves it. Like when I, hold his hand, and I'm pretty sure that he loves words of affirmation. I mean, I think he loves aspects of all of them, but like words of affirmation, it's so funny. Like if you like compliment him or say he did a good job or tell him you love him or tell him you're proud of him, like he just gets the biggest smile on his face. So, I always try to incorporate, his love languages. And he's always like, also affection. So, just holding his hand or putting my arm around him. I can't really pick him up and snuggle with him anymore because he's a beast.
Well, he's also a wiggle worm. So.
Yeah. Well, what was nice is the sleep safe bed that we got, we were actually able to get a double bed because of his movement disorder. And so I can actually get in bed with him. I take up about a third of the bed and he takes up 2/3 of the bed because he's like an octopus. But anyway, so that is a way now that I can kind of snuggle with him. And that's, that's been really fun. And then sometimes Luke will get in bed and we'll like all read a book together or something like that.
Yeah.
But you just have to be like a little creative when kids are limited. And then we also do games. We've had a little bit of a hard time adapting games, but a lot of times we'll say Finn is on my team. And so I'll just be very vocal about like what's going on. And, we all get a few laughs out of it, including Finn. I'll sort of show him what the cards are and that kind of thing. And, I think he just really likes being in the mix and in the flow and, being included.
So what kind of games do you guys play? Like, what are your games?
Well, we've gotten really into, we're into Monopoly and Clue, and I like to buy the classic games because, the new games are like very flimsy and the pictures are different than what I'm used to seeing. So I don't like those as much. And we're really into a card game called Skip-Bo. Have you ever played that?
Okay, yes, I have heard of that, yes.
Okay, it's so fun. And your kids could actually play at 6 and 7. They're old enough to like be able to figure it out. But it's kind of a cross between Uno and Solitaire. I know that sounds bizarre, but that's kind of the way it is. And I mean, Luke picked it up in about 5 minutes, so your kids would totally get it. But it's actually a really fun family game. Like many people can play it, so it's great. And so Finn's on my team, and I'm showing him, what cards are, available and all of that stuff, and he's kind of, following along. So anyway,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
We have the alternate spinner. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
No.
It's I'll send you a link. But it's like, it almost looks like a clock, and it's on a little stand. You can hook up a switch to it.
Oh, wow.
And like Julia hits the switch and it spins. So it has a template for dice. So like instead of her rolling the dice, she hits the switch and it will like spin and then, pick a number. You can also use it for, I think there's a template for Candyland. So it's got the colors on it, so you can play it that way. But basically any game that uses dice, you can use it for that. And then so like we play Trouble that way.
Okay.
Although she does like to push, with help, push the little thing, the little bubble. And then we also play Uno, and I have this little stand that has pockets in it.
Okay.
So I'll put all of her cards in it and like kind of space them out. And I'll tell her like, you can either pick a green card or the number 6, and she'll like reach up and, try and hit whatever card she wants to play. Sometimes it's right. Sometimes it's wrong. But she seems to like that. So that's kind of how we adapt things. And it's, it is challenging, and I find obviously the older she gets and like the more we move away from like little kid games, the harder it gets, obviously. But we do a lot of the whole like, I'll be on Julia's team and, we'll play that way. But it's nice for her to be able to play with her brother and sister. And, like I said, I mean, I have this really big issue with leaving her out. So any way that I can include her, I try to. But yeah, those are the things that we've adapted. I'll send you a link for the spinner thing.
Yeah,
Because of course it's ridiculously expensive.
Oh gosh, I know. I mean, it's just, don't even get me started on, so many things are so expensive. It's just like, as soon as you put special needs in front of something, it automatically increases the price by like 300%.
It's like
so
wedding.
Wild. Yeah. But not as fun.
No.
Oh my God. Well, Kelly, I'm like sensitive to your time, because it's almost been an hour since we've been talking. I could probably talk to you for like 3 more hours.
I know.
But,
it's always fun.
I know, it's always fun. And hopefully we can get a real cup of coffee soon, face to face, and catch up more, maybe in a few weeks once school starts.
Right. We can, break away and sit outside and have a coffee.
Yeah, I would love that. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Yeah, thanks. I hope it was helpful.
It was really fun. No. It's always so fun to talk to you. And, I'm hoping that, just listening to a couple of special needs moms gab about stuff, will be helpful or mildly entertaining or validating or something.
I think it is. Yeah. I mean, I think it's always nice to hear other people say, yes, that is exactly how I feel. I mean, it's definitely a community that nobody else understands. So,
like every night having to get a weightlifting workout when you put your child to bed.
Right. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm using all the wrong muscles.
Your lower back is very strong. Oh my gosh, that is too funny. Well, let me know if there's anything I can do, if you're looking for any like equipment as you're doing your renovation.
Definitely.
And did you say you're doing a handicapped bath in that renovation? Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you ever want to come over and look at ours, we've got, we did like a full, roll-in shower for Finn. If you want to just kind of take a look at how we did it, it's been super functional and great. And
the more ideas, the better.
Yeah. It'll be great once you get that space and it's like working for Julia and all of that. Then you'll wonder how you ever lived without it, I'm sure.
I know. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
All right, hon. Well, take it easy. We'll get together for coffee soon. All right.
That
hang in there.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Good luck with everything. Okay.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Bye.